You know how some days start so perfectly normal that the universe just has to throw a cosmic wrench into the works? Well, this particular Tuesday in Grand Island, Nebraska, was exactly that kind of day, the kind where the only thing that should have gone wrong was maybe running out of sprinkles or getting brain freeze from eating ice cream too fast. Sweet Dreams Ice Cream Parlor sat on the corner of Maple and Main like a pastel-colored throwback to simpler times. The baby blue and pink striped awning fluttered in the warm summer breeze, and the window display featured an ever-rotating array of hand-painted ice cream flavors that made dentists cry and children squeal with delight. Behind the counter stood Maddie Chen, 32 years old, 5 foot nothing, and possibly the only person in the universe who could make wasabi pickle ice cream actually taste good. Yes, that was a real flavor. No, you shouldn't ask how. Her jet black hair was always tied back in a messy bun, and she wore the same ice cream cone patterned apron she'd had since opening day 5 years ago. 1 scoop of chocolate thunder, 2 scoops of unicorn dreams, and what's that face for, Tommy? Maddie leaned over the counter, addressing a freckled 8-year-old who was squinting at the display case like it held the secrets of the universe. I can't decide between Martian Mint and Galaxy Swirl, Tommy sighed, his nose practically pressed against the glass. That's because you're clearly a cosmic connoisseur in training, Maddie winked, already reaching for a sample spoon. And today's your lucky day because I just perfected the ratio of pop rocks to... The lights flickered. Now in any other story, flickering lights would be your standard issue horror movie warning sign. But this was an ice cream parlor in Nebraska, where the most supernatural thing that ever happened was Mrs. Henderson's cat somehow surviving after eating an entire tub of Rocky Road. The vet still couldn't explain that one. The shop was packed with its usual afternoon crowd, soccer teams fresh from practice, teenagers pretending they weren't on awkward first dates, and the regular gang of elementary schoolers who'd somehow convinced their parents that ice cream was an essential food group. Little Jasmine Martinez was just explaining to her best friend why rainbow sprinkles were scientifically proven to taste better than chocolate ones when the sky outside turned an impossible shade of purple. The kind of purple you'd get if grape juice decided to have an existential crisis. Maddie paused mid-scoop, watching as her carefully curated display of ice cream flavors began to vibrate in their tubs. The spoon in her hand tingled with an electric charge that definitely wasn't static from the freezer, and somewhere in the distance a sound like 1,000 dubstep artists having a collective breakdown echoed across the plains. Huh, she said in that special tone reserved for moments when the universe is about to get really interesting in all the wrong ways. That's new. The thing about first contact scenarios is that most people imagine they'll happen somewhere important, like Washington, D.C., or Tokyo, or at least somewhere with decent cell reception. Nobody expects aliens to show up in Nebraska, much less because they're concerned about frozen dairy products. The Zixakari warship broke through the purple clouds like someone had ordered a spacecraft from a Gothic architecture catalogue and then said, "Make it spikier." Biomechanical tendrils writhed along its obsidian surface, pulsing with an eerie green light that made every dog in a 5-mile radius simultaneously decide that today was a great day to hide under the bed. "Dispatch, are you seeing this?" Officer Pete Martinez radioed from his patrol car, parked outside Sweet Dreams. His daughter was inside, and he was trying very hard not to think about how the last sci-fi movie he watched started exactly like this, because either the county fair's gotten really creative with their displays, or we've got ourselves a genuine UFO situation. The ship was roughly the size of a Walmart supercenter if Walmart had decided to build their stores in the shape of a mathematical impossibility. Smaller craft began emerging from its sides, looking like the unholy offspring of a praying mantis and a motorcycle. Inside Sweet Dreams, Maddie was quietly moving children away from the windows while maintaining her best "everything is totally normal" smile. 15 years of customer service had prepared her for many things, but aliens during the afternoon rush wasn't covered in any training manual. The Zixakari themselves were, to put it mildly, not what anyone expected. Each stood roughly 7 feet tall, with bodies that seemed to be equal parts organic crystal and living metal. Their heads housed 3 sets of eyes that glowed with different colors based on their emotional state, currently cycling through what any reasonable xenobiologist would classify as supremely judgmental. "Attention, primitive carbon-based lifeforms," boomed a voice that managed to sound both like a malfunctioning synthesizer and a disappointed parent. "We have detected your mass distribution of consciousness-altering substances to your young—" A pause. "Your attempts at creating a docile population through chemical manipulation are crude, but have gained our attention." Sheriff Linda O'Malley, who had arrived on scene and was seriously regretting not calling in sick today, grabbed her megaphone. "Now hold on just a minute," she called out, trying to sound authoritative, while addressing a being that could probably fold her patrol car into origami. "I think there's been a misunderstanding." "Your primitive communication device is unnecessary," the alien interrupted. "We have analyzed your ice cream distribution centers, the regular administration of these substances to your offspring, the resulting temporary euphoria and the obvious addictive properties most fascinating." Inside the shop, Tommy raised his hand like he was in class. "Miss Maddie, why do the aliens think ice cream is mind control?" "Because they've clearly never had a proper Sunday," Maddie muttered, watching as more crystalline ships descended. Her hands tightened around the ice cream scoop she was still holding, its silver surface reflecting the increasingly concerned faces of her customers. The local authorities had set up a perimeter for all the good that would do against beings who apparently thought the laws of physics were more like helpful suggestions. The National Guard had been called, but everyone knew they wouldn't arrive in time to do anything except add to the inevitable property damage reports. "Your species shows potential," the Zixkari continued, their voice dripping with the kind of condescension usually reserved for people who explain movies to others during the movie. "However, your methods of population control are inefficient. We shall demonstrate a more effective approach." Sheriff O'Malley's face went pale as the implications hit her. "Everyone get down," she shouted, just as the alien ship's weapon systems began to hum with an ominous charge. And that's when little Jasmine Martinez, still holding her triple-scoop cone of unicorn dreams, did what any sensible child would do. She threw her ice cream at the nearest alien ship. The cone bounced off its crystalline surface with a surprisingly musical ping, leaving a trail of rainbow-colored dairy products across its supposedly superior alien technology. The Zixkari observed this act of defiance with all 6 of their eyes turning a shade of purple that could only be described as absolutely mortified. Everything went very quiet, then very, very loud. They say time slows down during disasters. That's not exactly true. What actually happens is your brain starts recording every tiny detail like it's getting paid overtime, probably so it can replay the whole thing later when you're trying to sleep. The first blast from the Zixkari ships didn't so much destroy Sweet Dream's ice cream parlor as it did rewrite its existence. Green energy lanced through the air, carrying the faint scent of ozone and broken dreams. The baby blue and pink awning disintegrated, the hand-painted menu board atomized. The front window exploded inward in a shower of sugar-dusted glass. "Everyone to the freezer!" Maddie's voice cut through the chaos like a knife through soft serve. She vaulted over the counter with the grace of someone who'd spent years dodging kids on sugar rushes, immediately going into what she would later call her field trip mode. "Single file line, hold hands, just like we practice for fire drills." She grabbed Tommy and Jasmine, shepherding them toward the industrial freezer at the back of the shop. "And yes, this is way cooler than a fire drill, but let's save the excitement for after we're not being shot at by angry space crystals." Outside, the Zixkari were delivering what they probably thought was an impressive speech about superiority and primitive species, but it was hard to hear over the sound of everything going spectacularly wrong. Officer Martinez had taken cover behind his patrol car, emptying his service weapon at the nearest alien ship. The bullets pinged off harmlessly, leaving little marks that somehow managed to look offended. "Your resistance is both futile and poorly choreographed," boomed the alien commander, right before turning Martinez's car into modern art. Inside the shop, Maddie had managed to get most of the children into the freezer. The massive steel door might not stop a direct hit, but it was better than nothing. She did a quick head count. 23 kids, 4 teenagers, and 1 very confused delivery guy who'd picked the absolute worst time to drop off more sprinkles. "Miss Maddie," Tommy called out, tugging at her apron, "what about your special freezer?" Maddie's expression flickered. In the back of her mind, a very old memory stirred. "Not yet," she whispered. "That's our backup plan." Another blast rocked the building. Through the gaps in the devastation, she could see more ships arriving. The sky had turned from purple to a color that existence had specifically evolved to avoid. The casualties started mounting. The playground across the street took a direct hit, turning the swing sets into modern sculpture. The local coffee shop became a memory, and Sweet Dreams. Sweet Dreams was becoming a nightmare. 3 children didn't make it to the freezer in time. Their names were Alex Cooper, Ming Zhang, and Darius Williams. They had been arguing about whether mint chocolate chip was better than cookie dough. Alex had just lost his first tooth. Ming was wearing light-up sneakers. Darius had saved up his allowance for 2 months to buy ice cream for his little sister. Remember those names? The global response was immediate and useless. Military jets scrambled but couldn't get close. Some kind of force field turned them away. The president made a speech that used a lot of words to say nothing helpful. Social media exploded with hashtags and theories and the kind of dark humor that humans use when they're trying not to scream. But here's the thing about humans, especially when it comes to ice cream and children. We take both very, very seriously. CNN breaking news: alien attack in Nebraska, ice cream parlor targeted. BBC World: first contact turns violent, children among casualties. Al Jazeera: extraterrestrial forces attack civilian target in US heartland. Inside the freezer, Maddie was keeping the kids calm the only way she knew how, by teaching them how to make ice cream. The secret, she explained, her voice steady despite the muffled sounds of destruction outside, is in the crystallization process. Too fast and you get ice shards. Too slow and it never sets right. She wasn't just distracting them, she was buying time, because what the Zixakari didn't know, what nobody knew, was that Sweet Dreams ice cream parlor had never been just an ice cream shop. That special freezer Tommy mentioned, the one in the very back, behind the regular storage, the one marked experimental flavors, staff only. It wasn't full of ice cream. The building shook again. Through the freezer walls came the sound of the Zixakari's final announcement. This demonstration of superior methodology is concluded. Your primitive attempt at chemical control will be eliminated, along with all witnesses. Maddie looked at the children huddled around her, their faces scared but trusting. She thought about Alex, Ming, and Darius. She thought about all the summers she'd spent perfecting flavors, all the birthdays celebrated in her shop, all the first dates and last dates and everything in between. She thought about the fact that she hadn't actually made ice cream in that special freezer for over 15 years. "Tommy," she said quietly, "remember how you couldn't decide between Martian Mint and Galaxy Swirl?" The boy nodded. "Well, you're about to see something way better than either of those." She stood up, her eyes beginning to glow with a familiar green tint. "Everyone stay here. Miss Maddie needs to have a word with our guests about proper ice cream appreciation." As she stepped out of the freezer, her skin began to shimmer with a metallic sheen that definitely wasn't from the sprinkle dust. It was time to show these aliens why humans take their ice cream so seriously. Somewhere beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that officially doesn't exist, Colonel Marcus Iron Blackwood was watching the Nebraska incident unfold on multiple screens while drinking coffee so black it could have been classified as a tactical weapon. "Well," he said, setting down his mug with deliberate calm, "looks like someone finally found our ice cream lady." The command center of Project Guardian hummed with activity. Technicians in white lab coats scrambled between monitoring stations, their tablets displaying data streams that would give most physicists a headache. On the main screen, satellite footage showed the devastating attack on Sweet Dreams ice cream parlor. "Sir," Dr. Raj Thunderbolt Patel burst into the room, his usually immaculate lab coat askew. "Maddie's biosignature just went active. First time in 15 years. Blackwood nodded. He looked exactly like what would happen if someone tried to carve a military officer out of granite and then gave him a crew cut. "Sound the recall. All Guardian operatives, protocol ice cream social." "Are we really still calling it that?" Lieutenant Anna Ghost Kovac materialized from seemingly nowhere, making 3 technicians jump. The Croatian Special Forces operator had a habit of appearing exactly when needed, usually scaring the hell out of anyone who wasn't expecting it. "I still say Operation Brain Freeze was better." "The ice cream theme stays," Blackwood said firmly. "It's tradition. For those wondering how we got here, how humanity had a secret program of biomechanical super soldiers who apparently had something to do with frozen desserts, we need to back up about 20 years. Project Guardian began as a joint research initiative between military scientists and, well, let's just say some very helpful extraterrestrial refugees who had a bone to pick with the Zixakari. The goal was to create human weapons that could match alien technology. The problem was, most test subjects couldn't handle the transformation. Most except for one group, ice cream artisans. Something about the way their brains process flavor combinations and temperature control, Dr. Patel explained, pulling up holographic diagrams. The neural pathways developed through years of ice cream making perfectly match the synaptic patterns needed for biomechanical integration. In English, Doc, Blackwood growled. Good ice cream makers can become living weapons, Anna translated, checking her tactical gear. Because apparently, the universe has a sense of humor. The facility's training area looked like someone had combined a military obstacle course with an industrial kitchen. New recruits learned to control their transformations while maintaining the perfect ice cream consistency. Physical combat was practiced alongside gelato preparation. Weapon systems were calibrated using the same precision needed for artisanal sorbet. Maddie had been their first success patient zero of Project Guardian. She could transform her entire body into a living weapon, complete with integrated defense systems and offensive capabilities that made tanks look like toys, but after a particularly rough mission, she'd chosen to retire, opening her shop in Nebraska. The Zixakari just had to attack an ice cream shop, Dr. Patel muttered, reviewing the casualty reports. Of all the possible targets, they managed to hit our original prototype's establishment. He looked up. They have no idea what they've just started. In the armory, other Guardian operatives were preparing for deployment. Each had their own specialty, their transformations as unique as their signature flavors. Master Sergeant James Rocky Road Rodriguez, heavy weapons specialist, transforms into a walking artillery platform. Captain Michelle Mintchip Wong, stealth operations, her crystalline form perfect for infiltration. Specialist David Double Fudge O'Brien, demolitions expert with a transformation that could literally melt through walls. Status report on all operatives, Blackwood commanded, striding through the facility. 23 active agents worldwide, Anna reported, appearing beside him. All responding to recall, ETA 2 hours for full assembly. Sir, a young technician ran up, tablet in hand. You need to see this, we're getting readings from Maddie. They're off the charts. The integration with her systems, it's evolved somehow. The command center screen showed Maddie emerging from her shop's freezer, her transformation already beginning. But this wasn't the same technology they remembered. 15 years of dormancy had apparently allowed the biomechanical systems to adapt, to grow. My God, Dr. Patel whispered, watching the data stream. She's not just a weapon anymore. She's become something new. Blackwood's face hardened. Prep for immediate deployment, all units, all assets. He turned to face his team. The Zixakari want to learn about humanity. Let's give them a crash course in why you don't mess with ice cream. The next hour was controlled chaos. Guardian operatives underwent their pre-mission protocols, a unique combination of combat prep and temperature control exercises. Each soldier carried a specialized container of their signature ice cream, not as food, but as a focusing tool for their transformations. Dr. Patel's lab team worked frantically to upgrade their support systems, incorporating data from Maddie's evolved form. Anna ghosted through the facility, coordinating logistics and occasionally appearing to correct someone's stance or technique. Remember your training, Blackwood addressed the assembled team. You're not just soldiers, you're not just ice cream artisans, you're humanity's response to a threat that thought we were primitive. He paused, looking each operator in the eye. Show them how wrong they are. The briefing screens displayed their objective, Grand Island, Nebraska. Current situation, one very angry ice cream maker holding her own against alien forces. Mission parameters, reinforcement, containment, and if necessary, complete elimination of hostile forces. One last thing, Blackwood added as the deployment countdown began. We've confirmed 3 children were lost in the initial attack. Their names were Alex Cooper, Ming Jiang, and Darius Williams. His voice carried the weight of mountains. Remember them. This isn't just about defending Earth anymore. This is about justice. This is about showing the galaxy that humanity protects its own, especially its children. The facility's massive hangar doors began to open. Guardian transport vehicles, disguised as ice cream trucks, because sometimes the obvious hiding place is the best one, prepared for launch. "Sir," Anna appeared one last time beside Blackwood. "What's our containment protocol for Maddie, if she's really evolved beyond our original parameters?" "We follow her lead," he replied, his own transformation beginning to ripple across his skin. "After all, she was the first. She wrote the book on what we can become." As the strike force deployed, Dr. Patel activated the facility's global alert system. Across the world, seemingly ordinary ice cream shops began closing early. Their owners, all Guardian sleeper agents, prepared to join the response if needed. The Zixakari had made 3 critical mistakes. 1, they attacked Earth. 2, they targeted children. 3, they messed with ice cream. Now they were about to learn why each of those was a terrible idea. Project Guardian was going live, and this time they were bringing all 31 flavors of pain. You know what's better than watching aliens realize they've made a terrible mistake? Watching aliens realize they've made a terrible mistake while being taken down by transformed ice cream makers. The Guardian strike force arrived to find Maddie already giving the Zixakari a masterclass in human retaliation. Her transformed state was breathtaking, a swirling combination of metallic plates and crystalline edges that somehow still managed to incorporate her signature pastel colors. She'd already disabled 3 smaller ships using what appeared to be weaponized soft-serve technology. "Impossible," the Zixakari commander broadcast. "Your species cannot possess this technology." "Honey," Maddie's voice carried that special tone reserved for dealing with particularly difficult customers, "you haven't seen anything yet." That's when the ice cream trucks arrived. Master Sergeant Rodriguez burst from the first vehicle, his transformation turning him into something that looked like a tank had fallen in love with a waffle cone maker. His signature Rocky Road armor could absorb and redirect energy attacks, sending them back with explosive sprinkles. Yes, explosive sprinkles. Sometimes the universe just hands you perfect weapon designs. "Left flank, pattern banana split," Colonel Blackwood commanded, his own form a terrifying mixture of military precision and artisanal engineering. His transformed state specialized in tactical coordination, allowing him to process battlefield data faster than any computer. The Zixakari responded with overwhelming firepower, their crystalline ships filling the Nebraska sky with deadly energy beams. But they hadn't counted on Captain Wong's mint-chip stealth systems. She phased through their attacks like they were air, her crystalline form refracting their weapons and turning their own light shows against them. "Sir," Dr. Patel's voice crackled over the comm. He was monitoring the battle from a mobile command center disguised as a gelato cart. "I'm picking up unusual energy readings. The children—" He didn't need to finish, everyone could feel it. The emotions of the kids still trapped in Maddie's freezer. Their fear, their hope, their absolute conviction that the ice cream people would save them. It was somehow amplifying the Guardian transformations. "It's the neural resonance," Patel explained excitedly. "Children's brains process ice cream enjoyment differently than adults. Pure, unfiltered joy. It's supercharging our systems." Lieutenant Kovac materialized inside one of the alien ships, her ghost protocols allowing her to bypass their shields entirely. "Then let's give them something to cheer about." She placed her hand on their control crystal, her transformation allowing her to interface with their tech. Anyone ever wonder what happens when you flash freeze alien computers? The ship's systems crystallized instantly, its crew trapped in a moment of complete surprise, as their technology turned into something that belonged in an abstract ice sculpture competition. But the Zixakari mothership was still operational, and it was charging something big, something that made the air taste like metal and regret. "They're targeting the whole town," Blackwood realized. "Full containment protocol, everyone to position." What happened next would later be described in classified documents as Operation Sunday Surprise, though the civilian witnesses would simply call it, "That time ice cream saved the world." Maddie took point, her evolved systems resonating with the other Guardian operators. They moved in perfect sync, their transformations linking together like the world's most lethal dessert display. Rodriguez provided the base, his Rocky Road armor expanding to create a foundation. Wong's mint-chip crystals formed a lattice structure around him. O'Brien's double fudge systems filled in the gaps with reactive armor, and at the center, Maddie began to glow. "You attacked my shop," her voice carried across the battlefield. "You hurt my kids. And worst of all," she paused for dramatic effect, "because some moments deserve it. You insulted ice cream. The mothership fired. The combined Guardian force responded with what could only be described as a reverse-engineered sundae of pure destruction. Their merged forms created a weapon that looked like what would happen if you gave a particle accelerator to a master pastry chef. The blast that followed broke every window in a 5-mile radius and temporarily convinced several physics professors to take up gardening instead. When the light faded, the Zixakari mothership had a very large, very round hole through its center. It looked, ironically, exactly like someone had taken a massive ice cream scoop to it. "Retreat!" the alien commander ordered, their superior tone replaced by something approaching panic. "The humans have weaponized joy. This violation of physics cannot be allowed to spread." The remaining ships fled, some of them still trailing crystallized systems from Kovat's attacks. As they disappeared into the purple sky, their final transmission echoed across the town. "Warning to all species, Earth is classified as extreme hazard. Their frozen confections are not mind control devices. They are worse. They are delicious." The transformed Guardian operators began powering down, their systems humming with residual energy from the children's emotional amplification. Maddie was the last to revert, her evolved form lingering like a reminder of what humanity could become when pushed too far. "Cleanup crew incoming," Blackwood announced, already coordinating with local authorities to manage the aftermath. "Good work, everyone. Especially you, Maddie. That signature move of yours." 15 years running an ice cream shop? She shrugged, her metallic surface finally fading back to normal skin. "You learn a thing or two about presentation." From the freezer, they could hear the children cheering, not because the aliens were gone, but because they'd just witnessed the coolest thing ever and now had bragging rights for life. "Ma'am," Tommy called out as they were being evacuated, "does this mean we get free ice cream for life?" Maddie looked at Blackwood. Blackwood looked at Maddie. "Kid," they said in unison, "we can arrange that." 3 months after what media outlets had dubbed the Great Ice Cream Incident, Sweet Dreams reopened its doors. The new building looked almost identical to the old one, except for 3 subtle differences: reinforced walls that could withstand orbital bombardment, a memorial fountain in the shape of 3 ice cream cones, and a very special freezer that was now officially part of Guardian's rapid response network. The grand reopening drew crowds from across the country. Everyone wanted to try ice cream from the shop that had helped save Earth. The line stretched around the block, past the newly rebuilt playground and the memorial garden where 3 trees had been planted, 1 each for Alex, Ming, and Darius. Colonel Blackwood stood at the counter, watching Maddie serve up scoops with the same care she'd shown before the attack. You'd never guess she was Earth's most advanced biomechanical weapon, unless you noticed how the ice cream scooper occasionally glowed when she was concentrating particularly hard. "The official story is holding," Anna materialized beside him, making him jump despite years of experience. "Public thinks it was a random alien attack repelled by classified military technology, though the ice cream sales near known Guardian operatives have tripled." "People aren't stupid," Maddie called over, presenting a perfect spiral of something that shimmered like the northern lights in a cone. "They know ice cream makers are special. They just didn't know how special until now." Dr. Patel burst through the door, tablet in hand. "The data from the battle is remarkable. The children's emotional resonance with our systems, it's revolutionary. We could completely redesign the program around—" "Raj," Maddie interrupted gently, "would you like to try the new flavor first?" He stopped mid-sentence, suddenly remembering he was supposed to be undercover. "Oh, right. Yes. What is it?" Maddie grinned, gesturing to the display case where a new flavor swirled with impossible colors. "Star Crusher, made with real stardust," she winked. "Well, technically it's crystallized xenon from the Zixakari ships, but close enough." Tommy, now the shop's unofficial taste tester, gave 2 thumbs up from his usual spot. "It makes your tongue tingle and tastes like victory." The memorial fountain bubbled softly, its 3 eternal flames flickering in the evening light. Each cone bore a name, and beneath them a simple inscription: "To the children who loved ice cream and the heroes they inspired." As the sun set, casting long shadows across the new Sweet Dreams ice cream parlor, Maddie pulled Colonel Blackwood aside. "You know," she said quietly, "being the first wasn't easy, but seeing all this—" She gestured to the happy families, the laughing children, the subtle glow of other Guardian operators enjoying their desserts. Makes me think we got the recipe just right. Blackwood nodded, finishing his cone of Star Crusher. Speaking of recipes, is it true what they're saying, that you're training a new generation? Maddie's eyes twinkled with just a hint of that familiar metallic sheen. Let's just say, Project Guardian is about to get a lot sweeter. After all, every good ice cream shop needs apprentices, and Earth needs its defenders, even if they come armed with ice cream scoops.